Moving on to item F. F1, I have a request for oral communication from Mr. Raul Ureña.
Good evening again, board members. I wanted to talk about this item, the memorandum of understanding between the city of Calexico and this school district about school resource officers. So first of all, I'd like to make some general comments that will tie into what I have to say. Ciro, I do admire your service in the armed forces. However, what I'm talking about is the precedents that are being set, the philosophical precedents that are being set through your actions, the actions of this whole school board. Now, specifically, I'm talking about epistemology, the nature of knowledge. With these actions, you're telling me that students, and as well as all mankind, are incapable of reason and that therefore they are in need of arbitrary force. It's the same thing with this item. As far as I know, these officers are set to be stationed at Calexico High School. So I don't want my school to turn into a police state. I really don't. One is enough to threaten me because I take my liberty seriously. I stress that social ills cannot be solved through force. That only creates chaos. Just look at the war on drugs. All it has created is the world's largest prison population. It has stirred up more border violence as well as aided in the rise of gangs. Your intentions are in the right place, but we have to understand that politics is not a primary. You have to look at ethics, you have to look at epistemology, as well as all the philosophical backgrounds before you reach your political conclusions. That is the mentality I want this school board to understand before making any decision. And secondly, I wanted to ask this question again. Are these police officers, are these fences there to protect us or to protect you from us? Because the way I see it is that fence and those police officers have the potential to crush any form of peaceful demonstration, including student walkouts. They have the potential to implement a draconian closed campus in the future. And that is what I don't want to see. And I want the actual problem to be addressed. This problem being the lack of enthusiasm towards school or education. When's the last time you heard a student from Central or Southwest say, gee, Calexico High School is such a great school. I would really love to learn there because they have such a great learning environment. I have certainly never heard that, and that is a problem. We want to attract students. We don't want to cage them up. That's not the proper way to run a school. I feel threatened. My peers feel that same sentiment. I want all of these things reversed. Cultural change does not start with a gun. It starts in the mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members? Ms. Ambris? I'm sorry.
Yes, this is the MOU that was presented to us by our city's manager, Mr. Oscar Rodriguez, and I met with Mr. Rodriguez, as did Mrs. Armendariz. She and I met with him together, and we discussed with him what the board's comments and concerns were with regards to what the district would like to see with regards to the SROs. And then I also had, along with Mrs. Armendariz, a meeting with our new chief of police, Mr. Pompeo Tavares, regarding, we met for different things, but we also touched upon the one specific request that the board had, which is to have a voice in the selection process of the SRO or the SROs. One of the things that Chief Tavares did share with us is that SRO, there's, I guess, some policy internally that an SRO can only serve in the position for 5 years, and then the assignment has to change.
It's rotated out.
It's rotated out. So one of our SROs, we believe, meets or exceeds the 5-year limit, whereas the other one still has a couple of years left on that assignment, per se. Again, Mr. Chief Tavares indicated that in terms of the selection of the SROs, that needed to be left to his department, and that we should trust that he would send us the best person of whomever applies for the job internally, and that he would select the best candidate or candidates for the positions. Again, I did state that it was the board's preference that the district have a voice at the selection process, in the selection process, and though he could respect it, he stated that he believed that was not possible. And so, given that the one item that you wanted, which was voice at the table, and then the amount that the district is expected to expend on to SRO officers, I would recommend at this time that the board consider either voting on it or tabling it until Oscar Rodriguez returns from vacation so that we could further discuss the item. But it is a hefty price tag to not have any input.
I do have a question in terms of that. What happens in the meantime? I did notice that I did see a unit at the high school.
I'll defer to Mr. Pesqueira in case I make a wrong statement. I do believe that I've seen them on our campuses the last couple of days. I guess we would find out tomorrow if this action is tabled or denied by our board. I guess we would find out tomorrow what Chief Tavares' direction would be, regardless of presence of the SROs on our campus. As our municipal police department, our police force is required to respond to our school sites if there is a call for an emergency.
And let me just ask one more question. And conversely, when because I don't see anything listed there within the MOU, when conversely resource officers are called to respond to city, there's nothing within the memorandum that identifies, where one stops and where the funding stops and starts.
Exactly, and I think those were the 3 primary issues that I cited to you in a written communication, is that as a board, I believe that your concerns are that, 1, CUSD is not permitted any input with regards to the selection of the SROs that are assigned to our schools. 2, that CUSD would be paying 100% of the salary and benefits for both SROs, whether they work for our school 5 days a week or not. And there's no explicit language in the agreement stipulating a process for addressing any issues, i.e. job performance with the SROs. And so if taking that item that you've just mentioned, if one of our SROs or 2 of our SROs are called away, as they have in the past, they were called away on furlough days, or they're called away for trainings, et cetera, and they're not present on our campus, then would it be safe to say that we could charge the city in return a refund of those services? And there doesn't seem to be any explicit language that allots for that. So that's part of a need for an ongoing communication or conversation with our city manager.
Maria,
Okay, I'd like to hear from the board members.
sir.
Yeah.
I do see here under under number 3, term of agreement, it says this agreement shall be effective as of first day of July 2013 and continue to revoke by either party given a 48-hour notice. Does that mean that even if we signed the MOU, we could actually get out of the contract and by submitting a 48-hour notice? Is that what I read?
That's what it says.
That's what it.
That's what it says, sir.
So, because I do have some issues with this, And my personal opinion as to who and what prompted the city to do this, that's my own personal opinion, but we'll keep that aside. But if that's the case, I mean, I do think that we need to provide our kids, our students, with protection. Okay, the safety is first, I believe. And like I said, 20 years ago, when I was going to high school, it was a different atmosphere out there. And now there's a lot more issues going on. So I think by having the SROs or some sort of a police presence in the school, I think it's necessary in order to deter some of those issues away from our campus. So, but on the other hand, I'm not in agreement with some of the key issues on this MOU. So, but when I read this number 3, well, if it says here that as long as we give a 48-hour notice, we can terminate it. We do choose to go with, let's say, with the sheriff's department or with hire our own private security.
Further comments, board members? Mr. Ortega?
Well, I agree that the amount is astronomical, although it is for 2 full-time police officers with, of course, police powers to enforce the law. I also agree that some of the terms are unreasonable, yet one of them, from what I hear, is policy, in part by the police department, which I guess can't be negotiated. But, one of the benefits that I see in the agreement, going on Mr. Calderon's comment, is, it indicates that in the event that, the SROs, expose the district to liability, they'd be indemnified, as opposed to hiring security guards where they would then be, I guess, employees of the district, and that burden of liability would fall on the district. But, I think that if this needs to be further discussed with the city manager to see some of these, that this should be tabled. Because I believe he's on vacation, I think.
Yeah.
Correct.
When is he back? Monday.
Ms. Duarte?
I would also agree to table this item because I've been doing some homework and I found the National Association of School Resource Officers, and I was checking into California because it was talking about other states, and they do have here in California. And I recall going to some conference and they were talking about the necessity to have SROs at the school site. In our particular case, it's different because we're using police officers to do this, and I don't, I prefer the police officers to be out there securing our streets versus being at the school sites. We do need security, but there is other options out there, I don't know, I would have to look more into this and see, if they train people to be SROs at school sites, but this is entailed for the school resource officers. I know that these are not police officers. They're, security able to probably do civil arrests and stuff like that, just like any of us can do a civil arrest. So I think that we should table this and look into other options. For the amount of restrictions we have over them and the amount of money we're paying, I mean, that could fund 2-3 teachers, But if we continue to hire SROs, then what are we doing really with our proctors? Maybe our proctors can get the National Resource Officers training. Maybe we can send them to training and be able to do, not maybe we don't want them carrying guns on our district, but, get the training and get certified and really use them as security officers versus the word proctor.
Ms. Zuno Vizcarra?
I agree with everyone's comments. I think the fiscal impact is huge, but more than anything, when I read the contract, it seems like we're paying for a full salary for 2 officers to be on our school site during school hours only, correct? And then during some games, whereas my understanding of a police officer's normal workday, their hours go beyond, let's say 6 or 8 hours, right? I don't know, do they work 10 hours, 12 hours? They work very long shifts, so it seems like we continue to pay them a full salary past the time that our school needs them. And in addition to that, they do get called off campus when there's something else going on in the city and that they need to respond to. So there are periods of time where they're not available to us. They're still employed by the city, being paid by us. I think there are also other things that we can look at. We could look to contract with security companies where the liability would not be the district. So I think this definitely needs some more looking into. However, I have a question. If we table this and there are SROs, they're on campus, correct? So they're continuing to be there and we're paying them?
Well, that would have to be Chief Tabarez's call tomorrow, obviously. I would envision that if this is tabled at this point, that he would probably, I'm just going to envision, I don't want to speak for him, that he would likely provide the direction to his officers to
So pull
leave the
them,
campus.
but if they're on our campus now and we have a contract signed,
We don't have a contract signed.
so they're just there, what, on a?
Well, they-
I don't understand why they're there.
In good faith that they came back this school year.
And we're gonna get a bill from the city?
I would,
I mean, that good faith is gonna
Yeah,
come at a price.
I would envision that's going to happen. And
Well,
just so you know that any activity they do beyond the school hour is overtime.
For us.
Yes. that we
Well, it
have
says
to
here
pay.
8 hours.
Yes,
Well,
but
yeah.
we'd have to pay, if they're at a football game, we have to pay the overtime hours.
But we're paying their full salary.
And their full benefits.
And their full benefit.
But it's
They're-
not
and
our
we only have
benefits,
them 8
it's theirs.
hours, and we pay them overtime. But they actually work like 10 or longer shifts, and we're paying them for those, their full
Additional
shift.
hours.
When we only have them for up to 8 hours. We continue to pay them the rest of their workday.
And we're still, and I believe the contract says that if they're out doing a 911 call or something, we're still
And
paying
we're
them.
still
Yep.
paying them. We're just pay them just for their
And
full
we're not-
salary for 12.
Well, my only concern at this point is, as some of you guys mentioned, is what happens if Chief Tavares, at the direction of the powers that be, no longer decides to cover our schools?
The police is required to respond to
Yeah,
calls.
exactly.
Our
So-
students
No, no,
are
no, no,
citizens
but no,
in
what
our
I'm saying
city.
is, so they're saying that the SROs are in our schools right now. So let's say that we table this item right now, and tomorrow Tavares says, okay, because you tabled it, I was directed not to send the SROs to your schools anymore, and we will only go to your schools if there's a 911 call or something like that. I'm just afraid that there's not going to be coverage for the time being, whether it is for a couple of days or until we have our next meeting, that there's not going to be that coverage.
Yeah.
our
Just
schools.
if you notice under item 2 compensation, salary costs for both SROs shall be invoiced by the city to the district on a quarterly basis and shall be reimbursed to the city within 30 days of receipt said invoice. So it would probably fall within the good faith that you're saying, and we'd still get charged on a quarterly. So if it's tabled, we're still going to get charged that quarterly fee.
So they have to still cover, they have to be there.
I would
Okay.
imagine so.
Okay, that's fine. Yes.
Is there a motion?
I move to table this item.
Motion by Mr. Calderon to table. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Item F2, reconsideration of CSBA membership. Mrs. Humphries.
Yes, and going back to the last meeting, and we discussed the CSBA and the benefits and what could be the consequences for not being a part of CSBA. We did an in-depth research, and we did find that if we were not a part of CSBA, that you would not, as a board, be allowed to attend the CSBA conference later this year, which is in November. And we would also, it would nullify the contracts that we have with the Gamut Online, and also the Agenda Online program as well. And so we did make the phone calls, et cetera, just to verify that that is in effect the case. And they did provide us some paperwork that I believe is attached. So, and that is, so for your consideration, if you wish to address the issue or not.
Ms. Ambriz,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so them saying that we cannot be part of a trade show that, when we registered, has the price for members and the price for non-members. So why would we not be allowed to go if on their registration there's a price for non-members?
We asked that question, and we said, so why have a member versus non-member? And they said, no, it says member versus other, and other is anybody non-education related. And so we said, well, that's a little bit
Sneaky.
misleading.
So who that is non-educated, not in education would go? If this is a school board association?
I wouldn't know, Mrs. Duarte, but that was their response.
And that is the details that Norma and I has been saying for years, that this company does not advocate for a school district like ours. Because their mentality is, I don't know, maybe they stayed in
Northern
Napa Valley or something, I don't know. But it doesn't make sense.
So that was the information provided. And so I felt that I at least needed to inform you of that. And, and
So that means that that whole transition that we did to go on to online would be negated.
yes.
And we asked, before we even took that vote, we had asked for something like this to be given to us. I think I think we tabled this twice, because we asked for
That's
this.
right.
And then at the last meeting, when we decided not to pay it, we were told, well, we didn't put this together. So we voted not to do it, and then, I don't know, everyone got on board and put this together. And it sort of pins us against the wall to have to go back and
Reverse.
and pay to be part of something where, I think we asked specifically then, would we not have access to the Gamut Online? And we were told, no, we do, because we pay for Gamut Online separately.
We do pay for them separately, so that's why
So if we're paying for it separately, why couldn't we use it?
because they retain the right to refuse the service to non-members.
So basically, in other words, they're bullying us then. To lack of better words.
If we wish
For
to
lack of
continue,
better
if we
words.
wish to continue to use Gamut Online, yes.
There's if you look at this from the perspective of how can we get value out of this, I think per member, there's 5 of us, it's about a $2,000 something value per each one of us. And just for the public to know, what this provides to us as a board is the opportunity to get ongoing assistance and support and training and increased knowledge on how to be a more effective board member. So we've been underutilizing this, or I think a lot of us go and do a lot of their webinars on our own. And then I think we need to make a bigger commitment to come back here and share that with one another. I know I've been to a lot of these trainings with you, Ms. Aguilar, I think with Ms. Duarte, and then we go to the one big one every year. And they're good. At least on my end, it was very beneficial to have gone last year to the trade show and to the conference, and it's good that way. But I think we need to realize per member what the cost is, and that we utilize it if we're going to pay for it, that we utilize it more efficiently, and that we understand what are the things that it has to offer. I believe that it's got the what's that one? The series, is it the Masters in Governance series that we might consider then being a part of, because it's a long and very educative series, a training that we can be a part of, and I want to take advantage of it that way. If I'm just trying to give sort of the benefits that of having this would be, because it seems like now it's back in, and apparently we're going to lose all these other functions if we don't pay this membership fee.
Yep.
No, it also said something about losing the online agenda
The agenda
feature.
and the board policies. The agenda and the board policies.
Basically backing us into a corner. I would,
And I like the way they put on their letter that the 8 people that have been already registered will not be able to attend.
We could go as others.
I just don't like the way they,
Maybe they have a high school fence that'll let us out.
well, I don't like
Jesus Christ.
the idea of being forced into participate, but I also dislike even the whole point of losing what we have. But
Yeah.
I would like for us to make a commitment at that conference to voice our concern and displeasure with the fact that they're essentially forcing school districts, and
No.
and that they need to address some of our address the concerns that smaller districts have
yeah.
versus just looking at it through the eyes of larger districts. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, I would invite a motion.
I'll move to approve, I guess.
Motion by Mr. Calderon. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Duarte. Any further discussion?
It is a very, 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 very almost twisting my hand vote for me, because I know what it means. We've used this agenda online, and I think it's working pretty well. And I like the gamut online, because not only do I use it here, but also for my job site or the district over there. So I see the benefits in that. But for them to actually do this, twist our arms and say, well, if you don't belong to us, we're gonna take this away, I don't think that's fair. So I don't think it's fair. But
I feel the same way too, but also we have Mr. Ortega that has not attended, the trade show or the conference or any of the leadership developments. So,
yeah.
he needs to go to this. So that's the reason why I'm voting yes. But other than that, like Ms. Vizcarra says, we need to take advantage of everything, which means more expense to the district.
Is there any further discussion?
Just, again, for the record, every training that we go to as a board comes out of general fund. We sit up here a lot and talk about things that come out of general fund. Well, our trainings come out of that, and we need to be able to give that back to these folks that are out here in the audience in the form of us becoming all the time better board members with positive intent, and go to these things, share that amongst us. I know many times we get teachers that go up to the podium, and I've heard board members say, well, when you go to a training, come back and train everyone else. I think the same would go for us, and that we are underutilizing this, as someone implied a couple of weeks ago, then that we do this sort of research that someone put together now of what would happen if we don't get it. Other than the one conference and trade show and the Masters in Governance, I don't know what else. If we're underutilizing what that is, and we could find out and do some research.
Yes. Further, I would like to also, besides the cost for membership, what is the cost for the agenda online and the online policies? We've had, yes. So we have a total actual cost. 2,500 on top of the 13,000. Okay. We've had a motion, we've had a second, further discussion. See no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
No.
No.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-2. Moving on to item G. Superintendent recommends approval of the following items. G1, 0 period before or after school conditioning class for Calexico High School. Mrs. Ambriz.
Yes, I'm going to have Mrs. Armendariz come to the podium to give you more detail on this. This is an issue, an item that was on our last board agenda, and you asked for more specificity and for some costs attached to it. And so she's going to provide all of that information for you, and of course, this is something that we recommend for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Armendariz.
Good afternoon. I hope you had an opportunity to review the different options that are attached to the agenda item. The recommendation is that we approve the ACIDS before and after school conditioning class. The reason being that, what was that? Option one. Option one. The reason being is that this is something that we can do immediately. All of these funds, except for the possibility the hourly wage can also come out of the assets. If not, that would come from general fund, and work our way towards 0 period option 2. And the reason that I say work our way towards 0 period option 2, where students get credit, elective credits and PE credits, because this is something that we would have to negotiate with ACT. And that's why we want to do something immediately where we can offer the conditioning class either before school or after school, and supply our conditioning classes with the equipment. This is my recommendation for us to do now.
Now, you're saying that you're recommending option 1 because it can be done immediately. So what about if we went with either option with 0 period option? Well, actually, you have 2 option 2. So, anyways.
See, one is called 0 period, because the reason that it's called 0 period is if it's called 0 period, that means it's part of the master schedule.
I know what it means.
Okay, so that's, I mean, I'm just differentiating why I called it acids before school or after
No, but
school.
what my question is, why exactly did you have 2 0 periods? You have 2 0 periods option 2.
Oh, I'm sorry, the first one is option
Okay.
1.
So now
Sorry,
you
sorry.
said that with the assets option 1, it can be done immediately.
Yes.
Now, if we go with 0 period option 2, let's say for example, how long would it take?
I don't know how long it's going to take. That's something that we would have to negotiate. Because if we would have to negotiate this, because then we would have to fly positions. This is a negotiable item. This is an extended contract, and I would need time to be able to negotiate this with ACT.
Okay. But everything stays the same, right? The students will get the equipment.
That would come from general fund.
The students will
If
get-
you approve it, yes.
The students will get the equipment. It could be started immediately. And I mean, as soon as we approve it, it could start, right? Is that what you're saying, right?
As soon as we negotiate it
No,
and
no,
you
it would-
approve it, is that what you're saying?
it would-
0 period option 2?
No, if we go with assets. before
Oh,
and
that's
after-
immediately.
So we can buy the equipment immediately, so the funds will be available, so we can start right away.
Yes,
Okay.
immediately.
Now, the only, I'm sorry, Madam President, if I may. The only problem that I have is that the students are not gonna get credit for PE.
That's correct.
So that's my only problem. Now, could we fix that later? Could that be fixed, or, I mean, we could do that later, but
Okay. Students cannot get PE credit in a conditioning class if it's not taught by a certificated PE
Yeah.
instructor. So even With the way that we're proposing right now is that we have a basketball conditioning, a cheer conditioning, football conditioning, and a softball conditioning. Of all those 4, we only have 2 PE teachers. So even let's say that if we were to offer a football conditioning class at this time immediately, and let's say that we already had negotiated this with ACT, those students will not be able to get PE credit. Those students will be able to get elective credits if it's not taught by a PE teacher.
Okay, okay. But then that needs to be negotiated. But if we go with the assets, the option 1, if we go with that one, we can start immediately.
Immediately.
The funds will be available immediately to purchase equipment and do all those.
Immediately. And what's really good about this one is that if we go with assets, it could start 6:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning, an hour and a half before school starts. And in the after school, we could still offer it from 3 to 6. So this one, we have the option of a before school or an after school conditioning class. And with this one, if you see also towards the bottom, that we could also assign a campus security. And all of this is also coming out of assets.
Now, with the hourly wage, $33, is that about right? I mean, as far when teachers do extra assignments, is that what they get paid an hour?
Down to the penny, the 8 cents, 33.08, yes.
Okay.
And the reason, let me tell you why I even included assets before school class, the option 2, that one I would not recommend. There's no way that I would want to pay one of our certificated employees $11.11, but that's the way it is now, and that's why I'm requesting the assets before school, after school conditioning class option 1.
So, and they are, I mean, it will be done immediately.
Immediately.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, we just have to start all the paperwork for our conditioning coaches or conditioning teachers or.
Okay.
When you say 1111, assets pays hourly, is that to our certificated teachers? that
Right
are
now, what's
teaching?
happening with our assets is that they're called supervisors. So whoever wants to supervise our students, that's what they get paid. On Friday, we are meeting to come up with different options for our assets programs when we have certificated employees helping us with the after-school program or the after-school, because right now we really don't have a before-school program in assets or ACEs.
So, right now, currently in ACES and assets, we have certificated people working at $11?
No, that's why we don't have certificated people, because
Okay, so the supervisors are coming from like IVC and
College
stuff like that?
students.
College
Okay.
students.
Yeah.
but there is no reason why we cannot have certificated employees helping us with our assets or ACEs, but that's something that we are scheduled to meet on Friday, because I really wish that we would have our certificated employees helping us with assets and ACEs.
Now, how does, well, I guess all of our certificated staff is full-time, right? So this won't be like classified that if they work so many hours, they get full benefits because they're all full-time, right?
Yes, this is an extra assignment, and it's voluntarily.
Ms. Zuno Vizcarra, do you have comments? Okay. I do have a request for oral communication from Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper?
I'd like to hear the rest of the presentation.
Okay, that's fine.
If she's, I'd hate to interrupt her.
No, I'm finished, but let's see if the board members have any more questions.
Not at the moment.
Mr. Cooper?
I didn't know I would be used as a scapegoat, or my association would be used as a scapegoat. The district's canceled at least 3 meetings to discuss this issue over the summer on my vacation time. And now I'm being told that they don't have enough time to negotiate. Well, if they would have looked into this last spring, when it was first brought up by Coach Heck, there would have been more than enough time. I'd also like to say that flying a position has to be done even for $33.08 an hour. So that that's a small detail, and I don't think you're going to have a plethora of people that want to apply for 7 a.m. I believe it'll be the people the district wants and the students want. So paying them a substandard wage when the district had originally proposed making it a class, I'm not sure if that's fair or not. We'll have to look into that. And number two, there is absolutely no rate of 11.11 in our contract. So the district would not be able to propose paying us 11.11 unless we were to negotiate that rate for any extra duties. Our extra duty rate is step 1, column 1, which is, or excuse me, step 2, column 1, which is 33.08 an hour. So again, it troubles me to have to correct the administration on these issues, and I can't control when the district administrators cancel meetings. We would have been more than happy to meet because this would have meant more work for our unit members, and now it sounds like the unit members are being deprived of a fair wage. When you want them to do everything a teacher does except get the wage a teacher gets, that's unfair. I don't know if it's unfair in a legal standard, but it's unfair in a moral and ethical standard for sure. Just like the band consultant you're paying under minimum wage. That's also unfair. Under minimum wage in this district, $6 an hour to teach band. And I believe it's illegal, and I'm looking into it. And why is that? Not because he's in my union, but because I believe that we should follow the laws of the land. Okay, so really, we're available to negotiate anytime the district is able to negotiate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Allenheck?
One of the things that I wanted to talk about was I certainly like the carrot of the equipment because, as you can see in these pictures, we certainly need it. If everybody would pause just a moment and take a look at those. You can see the crowd of people. This isn't an orchestrated situation. This is the varsity and junior varsity trying to work out in there. You can see where safety issues become an issue. Just by their physical proximity, particularly if you look at one of the pictures where one of you can see Sal in there. Some of you may not know who he is, but you can see the 3 plates on one side there. That represents 315 pounds. If one of those, if they weren't in a channel, like they could be in a squat rack, that's the newer design, could be a little more dangerous. Fortunately, these individuals know what they're doing, so we're okay, and we've been okay for a long time. But the risk and a risk management situation could be great if you had an athlete that was in there but didn't actually know how to do that, an instructor that wasn't interested necessarily in performing those duties of explaining it and then watching them through it. Things could get pretty dangerous quickly. So we need the equipment. I agree with that. But I also agree with this. We need to give incentives to athletes that are students at this school. And I think anything less than that is insufficient. Because I look at other schools that are competitive year in and year out. Those students are given incredible incentives. One of the incentives is this. At Brawley, they work on a block schedule. So they have not only before school 0 period, they have a sports con 7th hour PE. So they get 2 credits, not just 1, 2. In addition to that, there's ADA. There's plenty of money that'll be coming in for those individuals coming into the school in the morning. It'll more than compensate for this amount of money. I think we need to think about this real close as to cost benefits on that. Because if you think about it, and I'm not sure what the actual figure is per student per day, but it's substantial. And if you're looking at numbers like 75 to 100 student athletes, and you times that times 180 days, that'll take care of this 51,000 easily. It's not for me, it's for them.
Coach, if I just may, the reason that I was asking the assistant soup about this option 1 for assets, it's because I don't want to wait anymore on giving the students what they need. That was my own, and that's actually my concern. But the flip side of that coin is the P credit. That's why I asked
Right.
that question. But so I don't know. I'm torn in that because for one, if we can start immediately, and to benefit our students, I'm all for that. But they don't, like you said, they're not getting. Well, I don't know if we should call it an incentive because just by playing football or sports, that should be incentive enough. But to award them with those 5 credits or 10 credits a year, I mean, that will be more to offer them. So that's why I asked. That's why I specifically had to ask that question regarding the credits.
No, I understand your reasoning for it. I just want to make sure that the perspective is understood financially, that one, if we do create a 0 period, the ADA money will more than take care of how much the salaries. It offsets it. I don't know, but I know it's significant. Can anybody give me a figure on what ADA is per person per day?
Maria?
I think it's 4,000 in that area right now.
Okay, so, and we're talking one individual,
per year.
right?
Per year. No, per year.
Per year. Okay, so if we take
per
the-
kid, yes.
4,000 plus.
1075.
if we do that times 75, and that would be probably a minimum number at this point we're talking about for athletes, and you do this as a year-round program, that's 180 days.
No.
That 51,000 seems pretty insignificant, I would think.
My point, my concern was not the money at this point. My
No, I
concern
know.
was starting right away and giving the students the equipment right away. That's
I
my
understand.
concern.
No, I know.
So
I guess I don't understand why both couldn't happen.
that's why I asked the question. If not, how long, if we decided to go with 0 period option 2, which is the one that I like, how long would it take? And that's why I asked
Mr.
that question.
Calderon, I'd like to give opportunity to Ms. Zuno Vizcarra to speak.
Okay.
A couple of questions, and Mr. Heck, it seems to me maybe this program or what's being requested has changed.
Never changed.
Well, because we have 4 options now, and
But that wasn't me.
okay.
That's
So
correct.
can
Mine has
I-
always been one
Can I
way.
ask you then what is it what is it that you like? What would work?
What I think will work.
Is it any of these 4 options?
History has proven it, and I'll give you what we've done for 3 years now.
I think the-
5:30,
Question is, of seeing these options, which is more along the lines of what you had originally proposed? And far be it from me,
what I'd
but
always propose, they would be given credit.
So, okay,
For
so you've always wanted the credit
Yes.
for the students to get the credit. and-
Yes.
Okay.
And I always wanted asset support academically with the after-school.
The after school, because you talked about them going after school, and they all have to go after school to do homework and check in and tutor and.
How many kids went to after-school study hall today? 105. 105.
Well, congratulations
That's
to you
right.
guys, first of all, for being great athletes of the Calexico Unified School District.
And that's why I think
Um,
they should be given credit.
They absolutely should be
Congratulations.
given credit.
That's
So
how they should be given
I'm
credit.
I'm looking at these 4 options here, and some of them say, well, like a couple of things. Some of these options are to be open to all students. So we have all these folks here, and I'm looking at some of your pictures, and you're talking about how there are safety issues, and it looks like it's pretty crowded, and you
Yes.
described, what I have here is the second picture of a student lifting a pretty heavy bar.
Right.
And you described it as unsafe. I'm hoping it's not unsafe.
No, no, it's not
an
uns-
unsafe practice was
No,
somebody took a picture of this unsafe activity going on, and it's still going on. So that's
Wait a
my
minute.
concern.
The activity is not unsafe.
No, it's not?
No. What is unsafe about it, potentially, is when you have that close of proximity of individuals, in any instance, just about, and there's weights, and you don't have I guess, the best conditions. When I mean conditions, I'm talking about the best equipment available to minimize the risk of injury to an individual. It's not, in fact, I had, I'm going to digress here a minute, I had Flex, when I walked in there, and this is to their credit, some of them don't even know this, the trainers came up to me and said, you're the coach of the football team? And I said, yes. They said, I want to shake your hand because these guys perform these exercises with such precision that we've never seen anything like that out of the school. And when they leave here, they clean this facility up better than when they entered it. And so my thoughts are, if they are to do that to someone else's facility, give them an opportunity to have that same kind of equipment at our house, and let's see how well
Absolutely,
they take care of
I
it.
agree. So my question then is, we opened this up to all students, aside from, I suppose these are all our football students.
Right.
How would that be handled if you have, how many students are on the football team?
100.
100. So if you get 400 students outside, because this
We already
would
had
be opened
400.
up.
We already
This
had
was-
400
If this was opened
that
up
were
to
interested.
all, I would imagine like this picture would be, regardless of the best equipment we'd get, it'd be overcrowded. So I'm thinking out loud. I want to support all of our sports, and I want this to happen, and I'd like to see it happen with credits.
Can I try to take a stab at answering some of your questions?
I'd like an opportunity to speak, if you'll allow me.
Sure, absolutely.
In the last time we heard from Mr. Heck, and he did mention that about having it be give class credit, but he also mentioned it being part of the assets program, precisely because to tie in for the purchase of equipment that can be used for all athletes.
Right.
And as well as students who can do conditioning. What I don't see listed here is what we asked to be brought back, which included being part of the master schedule, which included assets, which included tying into the funding. I don't see that.
That's,
Which is
So
also,
I-
I guess, why I was asking, it seems like it changed, like it keeps changing, so I'm confused.
You know what, after speaking to the coordinator of the assets program, if it's part of the master schedule, assets cannot purchase the equipment. Because then it's our responsibility, if it's part of the master schedule, to purchase whatever we need for that class.
And so in order to be part of to get the credits, it must be part of the master schedule.
The only way that we can issue credits is part of the master schedule. And also, that's why I said, if we have it part of the master schedule, then we, all of us, can decide if it's for the athletes or for all our students. If it's assets, it has to be open to all students.
Well,
It's just-
then this year, we open it to all students. We don't put it as part of the master schedule. And then next year, we put it as to part of the master schedule because we will have all the equipment.
But the students won't get the credit.
Hello?
And
The students don't get,
Huh?
if we,
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
are you sure we can't get credits? Because when I was in high school, don't laugh, I know it was 20 years ago, okay? When I was in high school, I got credit for playing baseball and soccer.
remember last time that when I presented that, if you would have asked me that before the summer, we had a new person, we had a different person at CDE. Remember that?
Yeah.
And now we have Michael Lee, who's saying totally different. And regarding ADA, we get ADA for the day. no matter if you're in 0 period to 12th period.
Okay.
We
So-
get ADA.
So
for
the option, because you got duplicated, but the third column,
Yes, third column.
the third column includes the tapping into the funding from assets. It includes funding the teachers at the hourly wage they're supposed to be funded at.
That's correct.
And it includes, oh, great.
What's really good about this one right now at this time is that we can serve two purposes. We can serve the conditioning class, the 6:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning, and there's no reason why we can't continue to serve, not the conditioning class, but, we can also have a conditioning class 3 to 6, but we can get very creative where, for example, because I've heard Mr. Heck about saying we need the conditioning class, but we also need the tutoring where our students are attending, which is awesome. So 6:30 to 8 o'clock is the conditioning class, and after school is the tutoring class, which is totally different from here, but we can do both things. But right now, we're concentrating on the conditioning class. We still, ACID still provides the after-school.
But that's how it was, seems to me, that's how it was presented, that's what was requested, that they'd have this conditioning class in the morning, and then they go to the tutoring in the afternoon.
And that can still, and that can still happen.
Can we not do that?
Yes,
So,
yes.
well,
So we're talking about two different things, the conditioning and then the tutoring. That we offer now.
Well, once again, I go back, the students are not going to get the PE credit for
Not
that
for
hour.
this
No, they're
year.
not getting
No,
Not
for
for
this
this year.
And if they do get the credits, they're on the master schedule, and if that's the case, then if the board approves to buy the equipment out of general fund. But we cannot use assets if it's on the master schedule.
Okay.
We just,
Mr. Heck had something else.
Mr. Heck, did you, so before we go on to vote, did you want to address? Come to the podium, please.
I think you have to look too at how assets funds their program. You must have a component for educational opportunities and enrichment, and also conditioning and exercise. So it seemed to me that doing the conditioning and hooking it to the study hall met those requirements completely.
Do we have someone from assets here? Can you please come and elaborate?
Joe? Yeah, go ahead.
You work for assets?
Yeah, I'm a supervisor for assets. This will be my 3rd year working strictly with the football players. So I'm the main tutor at the after-school program.
Hold on, you're
Oh,
not a
no.
high school student?
No.
What's his name?
But,
Could you state your name?
Joe Robles.
Joe Robles.
but,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
what is it that you do to tutor? What is your?
Well, tutoring begins from 3 to 5:30, which is strictly after school. What we do, we go to the gym because there's no place to accommodate 105 people. And so they have to set up their own tables and their own chairs, and we have the textbooks. So I, as a tutor, along with 2 other tutors at times, we go, they set up, they sit down, we take attendance, we offer tutoring. From there, they have services offered as such as the computers, the computer lab, they have textbooks, they have tutors.
Go ahead. No.
And,
There's a nutritional component that we have to make sure that's still put in place. Sometimes that's hard to ramp that up. And you have to understand that many of the kids here, with the kind of conditioning they do and the amount of hours they spend, you will cause a kid to be malnourished just from the amount of energy output, right? And so one of the things that I want to make absolutely sure is that we get Mr. Kim was the one that did this. When this thing was ramped up, this thing was like trying to build a battleship in the middle of the ocean. There was a lot of gravity, and a lot of people weren't hearing it or understanding it. He was the sole one that said, I will help you with this thing. And he was the one that said, I will get food to you. And we had that set up with the neighborhood house. The food was fabulous. Then there was a discussion that was an overlap of
Services.
How it was being built.
yeah, at the same time, right? And so then the district then took over that responsibility and did the food. Right now, we're working on getting food from Assets, which is a snack. And you're talking about like a muffin. That's about it. And maybe a juice. And that's a way step down from what we were. And while we're doing this, it's uneven ground. As we're building one thing, other things, we're having to try to pull that back up and keep it stabilized. And I want to make sure that when we do this tonight, that we feed the kids the right meals, a full meal. And we don't play around with this. And this shouldn't be necessary, I don't think, that we should, make contact with people this is part of the program. This is what we did. Just like it's a meal for a lunch, for a hot meal for lunch. We do this after school. It's part of their educational system because they have so many things going on. They need that nutrition.
Well, not only that, but they're here close to 12 hours.
That's exactly right.
But
They're here about
we-
14 hours. They're here from 5:30 and they leave practice around from 7:30. And they don't get to go home most of the time. So they're here from 5:30. They bring their stuff. We actually see them more than their actual parents. So we see them for 14 hours. So they're here from 5:30. They bring their stuff, their work, their equipment. They do 5:30 to 7:30 morning conditioning.
Yeah.
They have
And-
demands
and-
growing like college.
And that is something that we had before when the issue came up, that the discontinuance of the neighborhood house snacks. Mr. Caballero came in and said, we can't do that and this and that. But truthfully, we never got a reason why. I mean, yeah, we can talk about the billing and stuff, but there was never follow-up on that issue. And I know that the school sites wanted that food too, because Neighborhood House has that service, and they have the food. And I heard it was very good food, I don't know.
So
but-
let's get it.
Well, we need to look into the nutritional issue right now, because we know what Assets and ACES serve at this point, which I've never been in agreement either. But they are here for many hours, and I don't see how they can practice football or anything else with just crackers and an orange juice or.
May I interrupt, Ms. Duarte? One thing that we can look into is, well, for sure in the morning, because we have breakfast in the morning. But remember, there's been talk about supper for the after-school program. So in that meeting that I'm having on Friday, I will bring up the supper for Assets. We've brought up the supper for ACES, remember? So I will look into that on Friday, is the supper for Assets.
I
What-
had that conversation with Mr. Caballero, I believe either it was yesterday or the day before. He indicated to me that the supper program would be commencing for Assets on Monday of this coming week. That's what he relayed
So,
to me
but that's
yesterday.
not the muffin and the
He
juice.
said it was the supper program.
A full meal.
That's a hot.
full meal.
That's what he stated to me.
Full meal.
So who's
Okay.
going
Yes,
to be
a soup.
cooking that?
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just telling you what he relayed to me yesterday.
Okay,
Yesterday or day before yesterday.
If you can, email the board, who's going to be cooking that? Is it going to be classified staff that's going to be working? Is he going to hire extra staff, or what?
What kind of meals is he going to provide? Yeah. Mr. Heck?
I think what you see with all this is there are good intentions. I know you're trying to understand
I
this.
think your mic is off.
I don't even need it. You know that. Okay. I understand that your intentions are right. Well, all of us are trying to get to this problem. But what I said many meetings ago, it seems like now, is this is complicated, isn't it? And if we are going to structurally, programmatically fix this, we have to understand where is the best food coming from. And in my personal opinion, it is the neighborhood house. If we want the best equipment, you go to BFS and you order it through Granger, through Lowe's, because that's the best possible way to buy it, and it's the cheapest, and that's why I did it. And it's set up so that you can do it. I think we need to give them academic credit for doing this, because you now see the enormity of their responsibilities. I think paying the teachers, whatever, but when we say ADA, you get it one way or the other, but keep in mind, I'll bet you there's a difference in attendance during those seasons when those kids are in school, so it does affect the school and it does affect your bottom line. So in that sense, I do believe that it pays for itself, and it certainly keeps kids off the street, and that's why I'm doing this in the first place.
And I agree with you, Mr. Heck, but the only thing is, if we have a total of $76,982 in the general fund, I would vote on it right now for our students to get credit. But Ms. Randall's not here, and I don't know if we do have the 76,000 right off the bat to do it. And I understand about the ADA and all that, but that is money coming back later. I mean, we made the expense also almost at the end of the year for over $50,000 of uniforms for Enrique Camarena. You know, these expenses are not budgeted.
I got you.
And so we have to look into areas to take them out.
Mm-hmm.
The solution that I had brought forward is this year they don't get credit, but we buy the equipment with ACES and assets. Next year, we already have the equipment on hand, therefore we can put in the credits for next year.
Okay, what if we say that next year is literally in January?
The budget
that's
is till
next year.
July.
Okay.
Till June 30th. Unless we find a pot of gold in January. But,
Well, John said something that I think needs to be investigated a lot more so, and that is if this development that's going on down here, that they're doing, just like the construction group that did so much work at this school, that's an opportunity, I believe, but I can't, in my position, I may overstep my bounds on these kinds of things, but it seems to me like when a construction company's making maybe $10 million on doing a project like that, they could offer that as part of maybe some of their advertising money, because 15% is advertising for a business, and they could advertise one of those, all that equipment and put their name on it.
And I agree with you. I've always said developers should pay into the system, that we can say, hey, we need uniforms, we need this, contribute or donate it.
Make that a condition
And-
of the contract.
But we also have the item on the SROs, 230,000 plus.
43.
Because that's 230,000 salary, that's not including the overtime.
Got you.
So, if we don't have the money person here, we can't make
You're
a
bound.
decision
I understand.
right off the bat. We've been told from that side, this side, that we don't take care of the budget, that we don't, we spend money on anything.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to be proactive about this, and there's ways we can play, and it can be done. And I wish we could give you everything, but unfortunately, it may be, not a lot of money to put safety first. 76,000, how can you put a price on somebody's health? You can't. But in reality, when the money person's not here to tell us, you know what, we can move from here, move from there, if we can find it overnight or something and move some monies, transfer monies, but there is a way that we can do what you want starting tomorrow if the credits are not there.
And Coach, I do have although what she's saying is right, my issue is completely different. My issue is that, as they said before, you've been talking about this for the whole summer, and now it's time to start school. It's time for the kids to start getting ready for the games, and if we go with the 0 period option 2, I just don't want another roadblock to get this done. So, and that's my problem. My problem is not so much the money, but I don't want to wait another week and then come to find another problem. I have to wait another week. Okay? So, and I'm just trying to get the kids to start doing this right away.
I have a question. Can the master calendar be changed after school starts? The master schedule,
Yeah.
can it be changed once the
Anytime.
school starts?
Anytime.
When we need to make necessary changes, you
Yeah.
do make adjustments to the
Yeah.
master schedule.
Okay, so the only problem with that is that in order for students to receive credit for a certain class, is that they have to have so many seat minutes. Then we're talking about minutes in each period. So, for example, if we start a class in October, but from October.
So they're behind.
Well, no, we're not gonna make up those. Well, we're not gonna make up those credits
That's
that we're
what I'm saying.
missing. So
They're gonna be
So
behind.
even though that if they attend class, they're not gonna get the 5 credits. So that's what we're talking about. The seat minutes, they call them.
This was on the door, and it entails board adopted budget, which is 74, 45-day budget revision, 76, and the difference is 2. You saw this, it was on your own door, right?
Who put that
There's quite
there?
a bit of money there. It's also on your website.
It's mandated, but may I see that, please?
Yes. That's a substantial amount of money.
When did we
to
get a
take care
copy
of
of
that.
this?
No, and I'm sorry, Madam President, I think I'm gonna overstep my boundaries, because I'm not supposed to negotiate, but, this is a question for Ms.
Against the law.
Exactly. So, but, how long would it take if we went with option 2, 0 period option 2, how long would it take to negotiate?
I don't believe it's a negotiable matter. They just need to post it.
And that's it?
For
Fly-
5 days, just like they're gonna have to
fly
post
for a
the-
week?
They're gonna have to post the ACES jobs
Yeah.
also, or ASIS jobs.
When
I
did
saw it, but
5
I don't know
days?
if it was in the door.
Can you guys
but I
wait
know it's
5
needed.
days? There you have it.
I'm ready to vote.
Let's do it. For guys like Willie, who were not here to see this, boy, I want him to know we did this.
It's not fair. We brought this up to the district. It's been going on. And he doesn't care about the money. He's been doing it for 2 years for free, so what's another year?
No.
I mean, their record proves himself. They're 8-2. By the way, I'm Mrs. Hack. I go 15, 16 hours without seeing my husband. It's not about us, the Hacks. It's about these kids.
Yeah.
It's about making change for these kids. And they deserve I was a high school, college athlete. These kids deserve a grade.
I think it's a small price to pay in the long run. Because here's the way I see it. If you train some, this was said to me by my mentor. What you do now is special training for what you do in the future. So if we train them to be conscious of their grades, to be conscious of their activities in school, to be conscious of their extracurricular activities, to be on time, to be accountable, and to take a lot of criticism from different people, because they get it from me. They get it from me all the time. Don't think I'm as pleasant as I am right now.
Madam President,
up.
I would like,
I'm just saying, I think there should be some consideration and a very strong, I think I have a compelling argument. in
Madam
this.
President, I would like to make a motion to approve the 0 period option 2, where the students are going to make, where they will receive credit.
Motion has been made to adopt 0 period option 2. Is there a second?
Could you clarify, there's two option twos?
I know it's the one in the red, not in the one in the black. I'm sorry, it's the second one from the left. There's two of them, so the second one on the left, from the left.
Is there a second?
That is straight from the general fund? Is that one straight from the general fund? Yes.
I second for discussion.
Second by Ms. Uno Vizcarra. Discussion? Ms. Uno Vizcarra?
This was the way it was presented to us. I think this is the way it's been presented to us. And I know at last meeting, one of my concerns was it being something like this being inclusive of all students. And for now, I think that the four sports and the four maybe coaches from those sports that had expressed interest were basketball, cheer, football, and softball. And one of the things I asked is that, in conjunction with this, we look at opening up a conditioning class for all students. But I think our athletes sort of in a whole other level than our general population, because one of the things that our athletes provide our district and our community is a sense of unison and a sense of community. The whole driving force behind why do people live here, why do people live in Calexico? Well, because of Friday nights, because we get to go out there and watch you guys, because we get to go and watch basketball and football, and we get to see our cheerleaders cheering, and we get to be a part of all of that. But in addition to that, I'd love to see down the line, or where we can work towards this year, having assets then do something similar for the rest of our student population. And we need to incorporate the nutritional aspect to it. We're taking care of their health and their wellness by taking care of their body. I'm seeing these pictures, you guys work out. I've seen you all, a lot of you at Flex when I used to teach there. And you guys are wonderful athletes. I'm so supportive of what athleticism does for a student body, because it engages your mind, it engages your bodies, it engages you to be that camaraderie that you all have between one another, that sense of being a team. And it's going to be what's going to drive you back to Calexico when you're adults. Like all of us, it drove me back to say, I want to go back to where I came from and give back to my community. It does a lot. And, $71,000 in the big scope of everything is sort of a drop in the bucket. And I don't speak lightly and say we're such a rich district, let's just do it. But we need to find ways. Let's cut money somewhere else. Let's stop spending on our CSBA dues, and it's $13,000 we just approved, and let's not go to that training. I'm sorry, Mr. Ortega. I know it was great, and you're needed, and you're going to get to go because we approved it. But there's resources online for us as board members, and I would give up those dues of mine so you guys can get a program. So. That's my comment. I second the motion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
just to make sure there's a 0 period where the students are going to get, students may receive extra credit in that one, because there's a 0 period option 2. That is the first one. It's not the first one. Is the second one.
And, okay.
Is the one for 71,
Okay, you've clarified it's for 0 period option 2.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
$71,326.
And you do realize that that is coming from the general fund and not from
If we got a bill from attorney fees for $350,000.
No, I'm just asking the question. You realize that? There you go. And my point being, I am in support of it. Mr. Heck knows that. I've met with him several times over the summer. My concern is the fact that it changed and morphed and changed and morphed, and to with all due respect, with the motions and the seconded being made, I don't see it in the format that he brought it to us originally. Okay, and I understand completely that we can't, because of what you mentioned, that it can't be done because of the issues with for them to get class credit. But I don't understand why the asset component is not built into 0 period option 2.
Because, I'll mention that again, Ms. Aguilar. If it's part of the master schedule.
No, I understand. Okay, well, then say you we take out that master schedules. In other words, if I don't understand why an option is not given to us, or maybe we need to put it together, but where you don't have it, if you know that we're not going to be able to put it in as part of the master schedule because they're not going to get credit from the state, then why not give us an option where you have what was proposed in the first place, which was including the assets, which helps offset the expenditure instead of it all coming out of general fund.
That's the third one, but the third one includes.
That's what I'm saying, but it doesn't.
Ms. Aguilar, if we approve a 0 period, which is called the conditioning class, then as part of an after-school, or before or after-school class, we will not be able to offer the same type of conditioning class because it's already part of the master schedule.
Okay, but you've already told us we can't make it part of the master schedule because it won't be
We can make it part of the master schedule, but we can't use funds from assets.
Right, but that was the whole point. That's what Mr. Heck had brought to us.
But we can't. We cannot use assets if it's part of the master schedule.
I'm saying removing the master schedule part.
Then the students don't get credit because they have to be part of the master schedule.
Okay.
Ms. Aguilar, also, because Mr. Calderon has already motioned for 0 period option 2, please, if we're going to go that route, let's also give a parameter of how much we're going to allow for the basketball conditioning, for the equipment, for cheer, and for softball. Because on that 0 period option 2, it does say pending equipment for basketball, cheer, and softball.
So it's more than $71,000.
Yes. It does say pending equipment for basketball, cheer, and softball.
But then it has amounts on the bottom.
No, those are salaries.
But look on the bottom what it says.
Salary.
That's salary and the football equipment, but still pending is the basketball, cheer, and softball equipment.
Which brings me to what I asked a question about 20 minutes ago. In the third column, that provides us an option to be able to meet the needs of the program, to be able to tap into assets, and offset that type of funding. And it does acknowledge that that the students don't receive class credit. That's, I think,
But
one.
they've already not been receiving credit.
Right.
And
So-
in the interim, we can work towards that because you've been working with a fellow from the state, correct, on figuring that out.
Right now, from the state, if a student is going to receive PE credit, it has to be from a credentialed PE teacher.
And we only have 2 from the 4.
That have some, yes, that are coaches. Oh, you know what, I don't even know if these are the 2 that would like to be part of the.
board members for you to reconsider. But that's.
I'm not going to reconsider. We need to get this done right away.
I'm not telling you that we can't do it. What I'm telling you is let's look at it and do it as how it was proposed in the original, offsetting the cost through assets. Mr. Heck?
Let me see if this will work. I don't know if this will work. What if we have that enrichment class, conditioning class, and we buy the equipment for that class? And it just so happens that it coincides with an ability for the football team, the basketball team, the tennis team, the cheerleaders, at some point or another, as well as the general student body, could use that equipment too.
Which is what you pointed out at the last meeting.
Right, but what I'm saying is, you buy the equipment from Assets, or Assets purchases the equipment, but it purchases the equipment so that it can be used for that enrichment class. That way, you get the enrichment class after school for the kids that are not in athletics necessarily, and also so that it provides better facilities for the athletes. I don't care that it seems backwards in how we're doing it. That way it satisfies a number of things. It provides opportunities for kids that are not in athletics. It provides kids that are in athletics, and it's also a facility that can be used for kids in PE. Now, can you do it that way? And Assets covers the
We can, Mr. Heck, but it would
conditioning class.
involve the motion to be withdrawn and restated.
Okay.
I have a question, but before I do that, I'm going to withdraw my second. My question is this, Ms. Armendariz, this class is conditioning. So for all of them, for all four, the four coaches or that signed up for it, you said you surveyed everyone, and I'm assuming that the way it was painted for them was that this is a conditioning class, and I don't know what equipment is on here. It's not listed, but maybe based on the pictures, I assume it's their weights. Why can't the equipment be the same for everyone if it's a conditioning course? Can it be shared equipment or just equipment that they all use? So where we're pending some requests for equipment for everything else, why I don't understand why it's not just this general request for equipment that all four. It's a conditioning class. Why are we buying more? Why I don't know why anything's pending. So we purchased this equipment in the amount of $20,000, and we shouldn't have anything pending.
This equipment, the 20,000 is the weights, everything
Exactly.
for the weight room.
If it's a conditioning class, everyone should be using that. What else are we? I'm sorry, I've been an instructor, a personal trainer for many years. I know what a conditioning class needs. So I don't know why the rest of these folks signed up for conditioning can't use that equipment.
No, and we never said that they can't use that equipment. I mean, yes, they can rotate into the weight room, but then these other, and I don't even know what the basketball coach is going to ask for part of the conditioning class or the softball coach.
It's conditioning. It should be this. It should be the
They
weights.
submitted that. They submitted proposals that had that in it.
Basketball coaches here.
Basketball coaches here.
You know what?
I'm sorry. Well, I withdrew my second because I
Okay, so motion dies for lack of a second. Is there a second motion? Now I'll take the initiative and I'll motion for the third column. Is there a second?
I will second with discussion.
Motion by Aguilar, second by Calderon. Discussion, Mr. Calderon.
So if we go with the third column, so you're saying we go with the third column, let assets buy buy the equipment, and we just create a zero period where the students are going to go and enroll, but at that same point, the assets kids can go and use equipment. Is that what we're talking about? So you create a zero period, okay? You enroll those kids in zero period, but meanwhile, the other kids from the other sports, they can come in and also use equipment.
Yes, because remember that the equipment.
But see, that option wasn't here. That's what I'm saying. Why do I have only black and white options? Why, if we've been talking about this all this time, why didn't we have that option? Because a couple minutes ago you said no. If they do this, they cannot do that. So
The
now-
difference is that
They are not.
it's a before and after school conditioning class through assets. It's not part of the master schedule, the master schedule. They cannot get credit. Once again, if it's on the master schedule, we don't get the equipment
So some
through
kids are gonna get
assets.
credits.
Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
No.
The zero period will get credit. The enrichment assets won't, but you can buy the equipment from the assets enrichment, and all people can use it.
Okay.
Whether it's PE, whether it's football.
They just have to
whether
be
it's
signed up to
basketball.
ACES,
Okay.
asset.
All right.
They need to attend asset.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion?
Let's make a motion for the plan that is not there.
Well, there's a motion.
Option number 5.
There's a motion and a second, yeah.
There's a motion and a second. Any further
I
discussion?
make a motion to
You already
build
have-
a zero period into the master schedule.
Well, I think she.
It's
No,
already.
there's a
there is
motion already.
That option doesn't have the master schedule.
Well, yeah, but not at this point because there's a motion on the
So
floor.
add it with the
It's
master
not,
schedule.
okay.
Well, do you want to amend your?
You
motion?
can't have it in the master schedule and tap into assets.
But we have to approve a master schedule, a zero period. That doesn't exist. So we have to approve. So
It's-
go ahead
It's
and.
it's a before and after school conditioning class. It's not
The
part
zero
of the
period
master.
doesn't have to be
Building in
approved.
the credits.
It-
So there has to be two
It
motions.
just, yes, it doesn't have to be approved.
If I may?
No.
Through assets? Excuse me. If
extended
assets
contract.
buys the equipment, the coaches and the classes will have access to it. Now, they can have access to it throughout the day. If it's a class, different schedules, different time during the day. Now, since assets is before and after school, assets, us as supervisors will have access to it once the day's over, because it's not in the master schedule. Well, if it's a master schedule, coaches will have access to it during the day. We have access to it after school. And since assets has the funding, they buy the equipment, we all get access to it. And assets, the students that are not involved in sports, they'll have an opportunity to attend. Assets can create a class, not a class where they get credit, but it's just a recreational class where they can go enrichment class, where they can
In the
use, yes, in the
In
afternoon,
the afternoon.
from 3 to 7.
In the
From 3 to
morning,
7.
we'll have the zero period.
The coach, Coach Heck would have them access to it in the morning conditioning. Another coach would have it during the day. Another coach during the day. They rotate. 'Cause it's a class, and then assets will have it after school. Since they're done with their classes, they have practice, and football has study hall, which I made. They got the highest football GPA of last year in entire California. So they were at CIF. recognized.
All right, so we're gonna go, so we go with her motion, and then we'll just have to approve the,
Two different items.
yes, we have two different items, but the other one, it'll come back later because it's a personal matter, so we have to discuss it. So it will be done.
And then there's the food issue. We're leaving on
I thought, Friday, we're gonna have that discussion on Friday.
We'll have to wait here to start.
Board, I do have to tell you again that if it's on the master schedule, we cannot use assets. I would love to be able to have zero period option 2 with top of the line equipment and credits for our students. But I'm going to tell you again that if you approve zero period, and it's part of the master schedule, we cannot use asset funds.
The motion is already on the floor. It has been motioned and seconded. Is there any further discussion, board members? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
That was the
Mrs.
third column, right?
Mrs. Ambriz, I think, I'm sorry. It's been a long evening.
That was the third column, right, Ms. Aguilar? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Please clarify or get back to us in terms of the supper program. I know that you said you're going to meeting, but
Yes.
I would like for a report, an update to be brought back to us in terms of what Mrs. Duarte brought up. You know, are we locked into that? And let's provide the best. Why not the neighborhood house?
Yes. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. All right.
Credits, baby.
No, it's option 3, there's no credits.
Okay.
No credits.
Our budget,
We go on to,
2.5 million in the negative.
I'm sorry?
Where are they
Is-
causing for credits?
Clarify.
Clarify that.
I'm hearing what was voted on was column 3, which does not include credits. Does not.
But,
It,
no,
in-
but what we said. that
For
we
the,
would-
for the morning, for the 0 period.
Yes, but what we said that we would do is, create a 0 period, right?
If that's created and you have board certificated employees, which right now they have 5 sections that they teach, then you're talking about approving extended contracts for each coach.
That's correct.
That's what comes out to your $51,000 that we initially talked about.
Yes.
Well, like I said,
No, yeah.
Okay.
well, no, it's going to be a personal matter because then we have to do extended contracts. And that's fine.
So the kids will get the credit or not? Which ones did you vote on?
We voted on option 3, which, column 3.
You voted for column
column
3.
three.
Column 3 is not an extended contract. Column 3 is an hourly wage of $33.08. Students do not get credit, and we get the equipment. Okay, just clarifying that.
Yeah, but we can go with extended contracts.
The ACES and assets is not an extended contract. It's an hourly rate. That's what you voted for right now is not an extended contract. It's the third column. It's part of the assets program before and after school, and it's a $33.08 hourly rate with no credit and equipment. That's the third column that you just voted on.
Yes.
First, second, third column.
From left to right. Yeah.
The one that you voted on is assets before and after school conditioning class, option 1.
Okay. Yes. What?
No, that's not.
I'm saying I don't have no comment.
That's not what these kids want.
And I'm sorry, that's not what was voting on. I thought
I made it clear what I was motioning. You heard me.
Huh?
You heard me, correct?
Column
I
3.
didn't say credits. And I said, the column says, do not get credits. Because it cannot, in other words, it can't be one, one. No, that's not what I said. It wasn't me.
Hold on,
Clarify.
It was a combination because that's why that's what I was motioning to you. Yes, it was a combination. It was a combination. Yes, what he was saying.
An enrichment program that would be funded through assets, that's an after-school program. That's what would buy the equipment.
Does it exactly?
Benefits of that would be that the general population through the day could use it. Maybe even later in the evening, some of the other sports could use it. In the zero period, in the morning zero period, football could use it. That's what I have always proposed.
And that's exactly what he said.
Exactly what he
And-
said.
Purchasing the equipment, everybody
Through
benefits.
assets.
And that's exactly what he said.
Enrichment program for conditioning.
And that's exactly what you were saying.
So it's categorically different. It just so happens that it overlaps in use, but it's in terms of scheduling through the day, the greatest number of populations. And we're talking about separate populations, football being one, for example. The general school population through PE being another. Enrichment assets after school being another, and then another sport in the off season or even later in the evening could use it too. That would be funded that way. The zero period could be used for those sports chosen.
But that's exactly, and Coach, that's exactly what he said.
I know.
Okay,
And then
well
we-
then, that's not what was motioned, so if, So then, okay, I know what was brought, but, and which
It's
is what a point that I made almost an hour ago, which is that's not what Mr. Heck brought to us, is not what is before us.
Right. So
You made a new
create a
option.
caveat so you
Create a
can
new
do
option.
that.
So,
The fifth option, I mentioned that I never made a motion. I mentioned that fifth option. I never made a motion on the fifth option.
It's right here.
I just said, well, make
Yeah.
for the fifth option. That's what I said.
It's what we need, though. It's what we.
But that's exactly what you said, because you said it right there.
Yeah, and it's.
And you said that it could happen.
That's the best option, and everybody benefits from it.
We're
These
just gonna
kids have been
pay-
doing this for
we're gonna
3 years, and they're not getting credit for it.
Start over.
okay, let's start over again. I asked Ms., I'm asking,
Just stop the crowd and
let's,
we have to
yeah,
bring it
this
back.
is, what,
Bring it back to our next meeting, we can't.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I've asked Ms. Zuno Vizcarra if she wishes to withdraw her motion, and we bring it back as how we've stipulated.
No, we
There
just need
has
to
been a
bring it back.
motion, It has passed.
Yeah,
Okay,
Not bring it to the next meeting.
okay. That because it's not on the agenda.
It's not, yeah, you took a vote, you made action already. So we would have to bring it, I mean, we can schedule a meeting tomorrow or I
Can
don't
you
know.
schedule a meeting in 5 minutes?
No, we need to
No.
give 24-hour notice. Unless there's an earthquake right now,
So
which can
just
happen now.
give direction to bring it back. We'll have another meeting and give direction to bring it
Okay,
back
give-
with the option
Can we
that we,
give,
that we.
can we give a direction to schedule another meeting to address this?
it's 24 hours, we have to.
I know, do it.
Okay.
Schedule for Monday, Fox.
Yeah. Okay. So we will bring it back. And as soon as possible. Well, we'll find out. We need, Friday. Friday? Everybody's available? Oh. No, we can't do it by proxy.
Friday at 6 o'clock, 5:30.
Friday at 5:30? Is that fine?
5:30.
Friday at 5:30.
We'll let you know.
Well, we're the ones that have to vote it.
Okay.
That'll give you some time to clarify some questions.
Okay.
Ask me the questions.
Gallery on Friday in Imperial.
What questions to clarify?
The question is, can the,
You're asking me, they'll give you time to clarify questions. Give me with the questions.
well, you're gonna have to call the
You'll
state.
email, what was that?
You're gonna have to call the state.
For?
Because we need.
I mean, I'll do it, but asking what question?
I recall when we had the iPads for the after-school programs, during the day they couldn't be used. They had to be used for only after school. So is this going to put a dilemma by using them in the morning and during school hours when it's purchased by ASIC?
Okay.
Because I remember those iPads had to be locked up during the day. They could not be used during the day. They had to be used only for ASIC.
During the day or during the day?
They could only be used after school.
No, or during the, or they could be, so you're saying after school, or they cannot be used during the regular school day?
They couldn't be used during the regular school.
Because the regular school day, if we're talking about Calexico High School, starts at 8 and ends at 3. So if we're having a 0 period from 7 to 8, then that's not the regular school day.
Yeah, but there's gonna be other classes.
If it's part of the master schedule, then it is part of the regular school day.
Yeah, the master schedule will be part of it.
Excuse me, Trustee Duarte, can you turn on your microphone? We're not picking you up in the back. Thank you.
If that's the case, if it's after school, then they could just do their conditioning from 3 to 5. And in the morning, I'm a personal trainer, they can do some other type of conditioning without equipment.
I just want to make sure that we're in compliance with the rules of the acids, because I don't want to lose that funding permanently by being fined,
What about,
you know?
well, what
And we
about,
need, I mean, this is just coming to us, and we want you guys to have everything in the wish list, but I don't even get my wish list. You know, I want a Jaguar and I can't get one.
And I would caution the board,
But
because of all the
we're
comments that have
moving-
been
we're
made
moving with
regarding
caution.
how to get around using the assets, we need really need to be very, very careful.
what about, and I mean, I'm just thinking outside the box, what about doing tutoring in the morning? And then and then after school, you
Let's not negotiate.
Just remember, I have to put meeting in the deficit. Thank you for showing me this.
let's go.
Mr. Kim?
First things,
The microphone?
yeah. First things, by the Robertson rules, and without finishing the agenda meeting, you can do consideration to make the decision. So as long as you guys, I believe the 2/3 of the board to accept the reconsideration, you can vote it. You can do again to make the another appointments. And same as when we make some voting that they're not passed, they make another motion to prove it. The same thing is as you guys have been voted, but you guys can have always reconsideration when you're not finished agenda meeting.
We can reconsider what's something that's already on the agenda, what
Yes.
the option, let me finish, the option that is being proposed was not on the agenda, and that's why it's being,
But you
Take it
still
to-
can amend it. You can have some
it's a
adding.
totally different, it's a totally different thing, Mr. Kim.
Okay.
I'd rather err on the side of caution and
Okay, so
make
if
sure that
the board,
it's
if the
clear.
board choose to do it, that's you guys to choose. But whatever
No,
Robertson rules,
it's just want to make sure that we're doing it correctly.
They're
we
allowed to do
appreciate-
it. Okay, and the other one is every school, even the valley, they have a 0 period. If you guys cut the lawyer fees, you can find the 70,000 easily. Why you guys with ping pong games? You guys, the giving our children suffering them. You know how many hours my son had to suffer for that. You guys didn't provide the 0 period, he had to take the PE class. And he was ready to go to the game for the tennis. The PE class, he got injured. And he couldn't play. And you guys are jeopardizing our children's. And then the homeworks too. And they have to have some kind of a delay of the homework deadline. And those kind of things the school have to provide it. Our school district, instead of giving them the benefit they can do easily to do it, we are suffering them to reach the goal. But they made it. We had our team made 8 games out of the 10. They have suffered a lot. They suffered a lot. They proved to you guys they can do it. It's your turn to prove you're going to support them. What is the big money of the $70,000? You guys are making easy
Thank
the
you, Mr. Kim.
$70,000. Please
We hear you. Thank you.
prove them to what you can do for them.
Thank you.
Well, what we just voted on, that was not my.
And that's why we're bringing it back on Friday. As going on to certificated, we're going to close session. So, you make any announcement?
Okay, we're going to be convening into closed session for item H, which will be dealing with the personnel certificated employment report and all the safeguards that go with it.
Thank you.